The grid is down. No power, no water, no internet, just silence. The blackout isn't a glitch or a storm. This is the end of everything you've relied on. Your fridge? Useless. Your phone? Dead weight. Your neighbors? They're about to turn desperate, and desperation doesn't play nice. You've got 24 hours to make the right moves, or you're done. This isn't a drill, and it's not a movie. It's raw survival, and every second you waste brings you closer to chaos. Forget comfort. Forget convenience. This is about staying alive. If you don't act now, someone else will, and they won't leave scraps for you to scavenge. In this video, we're breaking down 8 brutal, no-nonsense things you must do in the first 24 hours to survive the blackout. Miss a step, you'll regret it. This is harsh, unfiltered survival advice, because when the lights go out for good, only the prepared make it out alive. Buckle up. It's going to get ugly. 1. Scout your surroundings before they become a death trap. Look, when the power's out and it's not coming back, you're not just fighting hunger and thirst. You're in a race against chaos. Once the initial shock wears off, people will get desperate, and desperation breeds danger. You need to scout your immediate environment in those first 24 hours like your life depends on it, because it does. Step outside during the daylight and assess everything: nearby resources, potential threats, and possible escape routes. Are there empty houses nearby that might already be vulnerable? Are there unprepared neighbors who could turn hostile? Pinpoint choke points, places where looters or mobs could easily trap you if things go south. Make a mental map of safe zones and danger zones. If you see abandoned vehicles, check them immediately. Batteries, fuel, and supplies can be lifesavers. Don't forget to evaluate the natural terrain around you. Hills, forests, or rivers can either be a refuge or a risk. Be stealthy and quiet. You don't want to broadcast that you're prepared while others are still clueless. This isn't just about knowing your neighborhood. It's about identifying every crack and crevice that could mean survival or slaughter when things heat up. 2. Prioritize communication and intel. Build your blackout survival network. In the vacuum of power, communication is king, and silence is your executioner. Within the first 24 hours, you need to establish a way to gather and share information that doesn't rely on the grid. Got a hand crank or solar-powered radio? Keep it running non-stop, scanning every frequency for updates, government broadcasts, or emergency signals. If nothing's coming through, start jotting down observations. Are neighbors panicking? Are there sounds of distant commotion? Learn to read the signs around you, because intel will give you the edge. If you're part of a family or small group, designate roles now. Who's the lookout? Who's the runner? Who's on guard duty? And here's the harsh truth. You need allies, but not just anyone. The first 24 hours are prime for forming alliances, but they must be strategic. Approach neighbors who seem calm and level-headed. Stay far away from anyone already cracking under pressure. Share only what's absolutely necessary to gain their trust. Don't spill your survival stockpile secrets. Build a small, reliable network that can exchange vital intel: where to find water, what streets to avoid, or signs of approaching danger. Without a web of information, you're as good as blind in the dark. 3. Secure alternative power and energy sources before they're stripped away. In the first 24 hours of a blackout, the energy landscape shifts entirely. Gas stations will stop pumping, batteries will become more precious than gold, and solar panels. If you've got them, guard them like your life depends on it. Let's talk priorities. If you have a generator, you're in the upper echelon of survival prep. But don't be an idiot. Don't burn through your fuel like it's endless. A standard 5000-watt generator guzzles about 0.75 gallons per hour under load, and with gas prices likely soaring past $10 a gallon during such a crisis, if it's even available, every drop matters. Calculate. With a 10-gallon reserve, that's only about 13 hours of runtime. Not sustainable. Instead, ration its use. Prioritize essentials, charging devices, running a freezer to save perishable food, or powering medical equipment. If you don't have a generator, switch to scavenging mode immediately. Car batteries can be repurposed with the right inverter to run small appliances or lighting. Search local stores or abandoned vehicles for any solar chargers or crank-powered tools. Got solar panels? Don't just let them sit exposed. Mount them discreetly or risk becoming a target when others realize you've got electricity while they don't. Let's not forget heating and cooking. Wood stoves, propane tanks, or even camp stoves are game changers, but those resources will evaporate fast. A 20-pound propane tank will give you roughly 8-10 hours of cooking time. If you see them available, buy or trade for them immediately. Propane prices will spike astronomically once people understand the grid isn't bouncing back. Take stock of any candles, matches, or lighters. If you don't have a proper stockpile, you've got less than a day to find replacements. Energy isn't just comfort in a blackout, it's survival currency. 4. Identify and guard your financial and barter assets. Your money means nothing now. The moment that power blinks out, your bank account balance becomes irrelevant. Those numbers on your screen? Gone. ATMs, offline, credit cards, paperweights. Cash might give you a brief advantage, but once people realize the grid isn't coming back, the value of fiat currency will nosedive faster than a rock in a pond. You've got to think beyond cash. Barter is the new economy, and the first 24 hours are your golden window to prepare. Take immediate inventory of what you own that holds barter value. Think survival basics: bottled water, canned food, batteries, first aid supplies, even cigarettes and alcohol. They'll become luxury commodities. A single pack of cigarettes could trade for a gallon of water in some areas and a full bottle of whiskey. That's a deal maker when desperation sets in. Skills, too, are now assets. Are you handy with repairs? A natural at gardening? Skilled in basic medical care? These abilities will become worth more than gold as the days stretch on. Now, here's the harsh truth. Protect your stash. Even in the early hours, word gets out fast when someone has resources. If you've got visible stockpiles, you might as well paint a target on your back. Move high-value items out of plain sight, stash water in closets, hide food in unconventional places, and never, ever disclose the full extent of your supplies. If you need to barter early, do it cautiously. Offer only what you can afford to lose, and always have an escape plan in case the deal turns sour. For those who still have access to any form of communication or markets in the first 24 hours, buy or trade for survival essentials while you still can. A $10 flashlight today will be worth its weight in gold tomorrow. People will undervalue seeds, manual tools, and first aid kits in the chaos of day one. Grab them now before they realize what they've lost. Survival isn't just about having the right tools, it's about making the right moves at the right time. When the dust settles, the ones who understand the true value of resources, not paper money, will have the upper hand. You've got 24 hours to adapt or be left behind. 5. Fortify your food supply. Take what's available before it's too late. Within 24 hours of a blackout, food is no longer a convenience. It's an escalating battleground. Supermarkets will be war zones, shelves stripped bare faster than you can blink. If you don't have supplies already stocked, you've got one shot. Act fast, act smart, and act aggressively. Don't waste time standing in line with people buying chips and soda. You need high-calorie, shelf-stable items. Think protein-packed canned meats, peanut butter, oats, rice, beans, and energy bars. Canned goods are your lifeline. High in calories, long-lasting, and easy to store. Here's the math you need to know. An average adult requires about 2,000 calories per day to maintain energy. One can of beans, roughly 350 calories. A jar of peanut butter, around 2,500 calories. You can survive weeks on that jar alone if rationed properly. Every bite counts when you're facing a blackout that could stretch indefinitely. If you find powdered milk, powdered eggs, or protein powders, grab them without hesitation. They're lightweight, nutrient-dense, and last for years. If you're already stocked at home, this isn't the time to pat yourself on the back. Start rationing now. Calculate how many days your current supplies can last. Divide meals into smaller portions. You're not eating to feel full. You're eating to stay alive. Rotate your perishable items first, then transition to canned and dry goods. Store them securely and out of sight. Food theft will start sooner than you think, and people won't be asking politely when hunger sets in. If you live in a rural area or have access to open land, now's the time to think beyond packaged food. Foraging can be a lifesaver. Learn to identify edible plants, berries, and mushrooms in your area, but be cautious. Misidentification can kill you faster than starvation. Fishing, hunting, or trapping? If you've got the skills, tools, and environment, they're your next step. But remember, you're not the only one thinking this way. Competition for resources will only intensify. 6. Establish medical readiness. Health problems won't wait. When the power's out, hospitals and pharmacies become inaccessible fortresses, and medical care transforms into a precious commodity. Within 24 hours, you need to solidify your medical preparedness or risk getting wiped out by something as small as an infected cut or a fever. Take inventory of every first aid item you own: bandages, gauze, antiseptics, painkillers, and any prescription medications. Don't have them? You've got hours to get to a pharmacy before looting begins and supplies are obliterated. Let's break it down financially. A $5 bottle of over-the-counter ibuprofen could save you from crippling pain in a world where no one's coming to help. A $10 antiseptic spray? It's worth more than gold if an infected wound means life or death. Medical supplies don't just have survival value, they're high barter currency. A single box of bandages could be worth a meal or two to someone desperate enough. If you or someone in your group relies on prescription medication, act immediately. Most pharmacies only stock about a 30-day supply of common prescriptions, and those will vanish in hours during a blackout. Approach your pharmacist and explain the emergency. Some may be willing to provide an early refill. If not, prepare to barter or trade. Stockpile medications that can double as first aid solutions like aspirin, pain relief and fever control, Benadryl, allergies and sleep aid, and even antibiotics if you can find them. But it's not just about having supplies. You need to know how to use them. A well-stocked first aid kit is useless if you can't stop a bleeding wound or treat dehydration. Spend the first 24 hours reviewing any medical guides you own or downloading PDFs while you still have a charged phone. Learn how to purify water using basic methods like boiling or chemical tablets. Diarrhea from contaminated water kills more people in disaster scenarios than most realize. And let's not sugarcoat it. Injuries will happen. Infection will spread. Someone in your group will get sick and there won't be a doctor to fix it. The difference between survival and tragedy comes down to how prepared you are to handle it. Stockpile supplies, gather knowledge, and protect your health, because a blackout isn't forgiving, and neither is your body. 7. Lock down your heat and shelter. Situation: cold kills faster than hunger. Let's be brutally honest. If you're not prepared to stay warm, you're toast, literally. The human body loses heat rapidly, and hypothermia doesn't care how tough you think you are. In a power outage, especially during winter, heat isn't a luxury, it's survival. Your first move in those 24 hours is to figure out how you're going to stay warm when the grid isn't coming back. If you've got a fireplace or wood stove, congratulations, you're one step ahead. But here's the kicker. Wood burns fast, and a lot of people underestimate how much they'll need. A single cord of wood, about $200, $400 pre-crisis, lasts 4-6 weeks if you're burning conservatively. If you haven't stockpiled, you've got a tiny window to find some before the chaos starts. Check local suppliers, hardware stores, or even neighbors who don't realize the value of what they've got. No fireplace? No problem. You adapt or you die. Layer up in thermal gear, blankets, and anything that traps body heat. Forget fashion. It's about survival. Space blankets, which cost as little as $5 before a crisis, can reflect up to 90% of your body heat back to you. If you don't have one, shame on you, but you can still improvise. Aluminum foil, plastic wrap, or garbage bags can act as makeshift insulation in a pinch. If you're in an apartment or urban setting, focus on consolidating heat. Move everyone into one small room, seal off windows and doors with blankets or duct tape, and hunker down. Got candles? A single candle can raise the temperature in a small sealed space by a few degrees. But don't be stupid. Ventilation is critical if you're burning anything indoors, or you'll be warm and dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. Fuel like propane or kerosene? Guard it with your life. A gallon of kerosene, which used to cost about $5, can keep a small heater running for 5-6 hours, but prices will skyrocket once people realize they're freezing to death. Don't waste a single drop. And if you're thinking about generators or electric heaters, remember, without efficient fuel management, they're temporary solutions at best. 8. Establish a defensive perimeter. Your safety is now a currency. Within 24 hours of a long-term blackout, the rules of society start to dissolve, and the strongest currency becomes your ability to protect what's yours. Law enforcement won't be there to save you, and even if they were, they'd have bigger problems. The only thing standing between you and the chaos is your readiness to defend your home and resources. First, assess your property. Are your doors sturdy? Do they have deadbolts? If not, you're already vulnerable. Reinforce them with furniture, extra locks, or even plywood if you have it. Windows are even worse. They're easy targets for anyone desperate enough to break in. Barricade them with heavy furniture or cover them entirely to avoid advertising that your home is occupied. Don't forget your garage door. It's a major weak point. Lock it down and secure any back entrances. Next, arm yourself with whatever you've got. Firearms are ideal, but not everyone has them, and ammunition will become a scarce resource almost immediately. If you've got guns, don't wave them around like you're in a movie. Stay low profile. Each round you waste showing off is one you won't have when someone kicks in your door. No firearms? Fine. Improvise. Baseball bats, knives, heavy tools, anything can be a weapon if used correctly. But let's be clear. Having a weapon is worthless if you don't know how to use it. Practice. Even in the first 24 hours, find 10 minutes to go over self-defense basics with your group. Security tools are going to become priceless. A $30 motion sensor floodlight might as well be a fortress wall if it can deter intruders in the early days of the blackout. If you don't have one, use noise deterrents. Bells on doors, stacked cans near entry points, or even a dog if you've got one. Dogs aren't just companions. They're alarms, deterrents, and protectors. A single bark can save you from a break-in before it starts. But here's the hard reality. No matter how secure you think you are, people will come for what you have. Desperation doesn't knock politely. In the first 24 hours, identify your neighbors who are most likely to turn hostile. If you've got allies, fortify your homes collectively and set up a basic watch rotation. Always keep a pair of eyes on your perimeter. And remember this harsh truth. Survival isn't fair. If it's you or them, choose you. Every single time. Thank you for watching.